Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the spiritual roots of narcissism, which leads to the important distinction between a narcissist and an asshole. You need to understand this because if you are even beginning to question whether or not someone in your life is a narcissist, you not only need to be able to know for sure, but you have to have a clear enough understanding to know how to respond and either extricate yourself or facilitate healing for you and them. In most cases that I've witnessed, someone who can be understood as a narcissist is suffering badly, and they will periodically show you this suffering. Someone who loves them, someone who's trapped with them, knows them as someone who's in deep suffering, and that's what keeps it going. They want to help, and they usually believe that their love is big enough that it can heal this other person. To appreciate when this can work and when it just will not work, you need to have a better idea of what's going on. My name is Daniel. I am a spiritual healer. I've been working with people for over 2 decades, and I've addressed some of the worst problems that humans face. A lot of abuse, a lot of trauma from abuse. So people who are in abusive relationships or people who have been in abusive relationships. When we are not well, we carry our sickness inside us. It has a spiritual presence. When we are wounded, our woundedness exists as wound up energy that's stuck inside of us and keeps playing the same wounded song over and over again. This is trauma. Trauma exists as spiritual resonance, and it does not go away until you heal it. The critical factor here is it can be healed. And when you heal, you're unwinding the wound up energy in a way that allows it to release. You can be free. But until this happens, people are typically carrying the energy and they can't quite make sense of their lives. Typically, someone who's traumatized in this way doesn't fully understand their trauma. Even if they know they carry something, they don't have a healthy relationship with it. So they know themselves as one sort of circle of their being, but they're actually bigger than that. And this bigness, this greater space, includes all these traumatized energies that they don't know how to relate to. When someone's in a state like this, they're typically projecting their pain a lot. So they will see the exact negative behaviors they carry in other people. And they may well be very insistent that other people are assholes and other people are sick or depressed or whatever it is they refuse to deal with. So this is a sure sign of hidden trauma and woundedness. When we project energy like this on other people in a consistent way, we insist that somewhat over there is this negative energy that's actually generated from within, we're being an asshole. I encourage you to appreciate that everyone can be an asshole. I haven't met many people that never project. The process of becoming a more mature person spiritually involves learning to own our own wounds, our own traumas, and our own projections. And once we develop this as a value, we get progressively better at it. So over time, you do indeed learn not to project. But most people I know do project, at least some. And certainly projections are at the heart of many fights, in which typically it's 2 people. It takes 2 people to engage in most negative patterns. A narcissist crosses over. So a narcissist is not just wounded. They're not just traumatized. They have become a new person in relation to their trauma. They refuse to heal. They only engage their vulnerability in a form that gets attention. Now, Narcissus died drowning in a pool of water because he was staring at his own reflection. This is the idea that you're just staring at your own reflection so thoroughly nothing else exists. A narcissist only sees themselves, but they don't know this is what's going on. The beauty they see in others, they own, and the negativity that is within themselves, they see in others. Their reality is entirely within this bubble, but they don't know that. So they often violently insist on forcing the people in their lives to conform to their control, to their understanding of what's real. And as a result, They react very, very firmly to triggers. To them, a trigger is not a trigger is the cause of their pain, because they haven't come to terms with the idea that they're wounded. They don't know themselves as they are. So if anyone triggers them, they blame the trigger. The trigger is what hurt them. So they are now holding other people accountable for triggering them at the same level of intensity as if that other person has traumatized them. And thus, they believe they have a right to react violently, controlling the other people in their lives, and they systematize it. So they develop relationships in which this is built in. They teach the people around them to know themselves in relation to this traumatized trigger dynamic. In order to deal with situations like this, you first have to get clear with distinguishing what is and what is not real. First level is you have to be honest with yourself about the negativity you bear. So just because someone else is aggressive with you, even something we could articulate as abusive, does not mean that they're a narcissist. You have to be able to fully disengage your own energy. So I encourage you to start with this. This is a fundamental tool. Generate a little energy between your hands. Now reverse your hands. Turn one away and one towards. And you're making a prayer that says, may all of your energy bounce back on you, and I own all of my own energy. May everything nasty you project on me bounce back and stick to you. I'm rubber, you're glue. Every nasty ass shit you project on me bounces back and sticks to you. But crucially, you fully own your own energy. You say, I absolutely remain committed to owning my own energy. This is so crucial because a codependent relationship involves two wounded people who trade. They say, I'll be responsible for your pain if you'll be responsible for mine. So often I've received people who are very upset about someone else's behavior, but they're not willing to own their own. And that's what happens when, yes, they're mired in taking responsibility for someone else's pain, but they've made a trade. They're just not conscious of it. They are trying to get rid of something that is their own. And when you seek to honestly address your own woundedness, you will often disengage from a codependent dynamic in a way that it dissolves or diffuses the abusive patterns that you've held between you and someone else. Now, when you do this with a narcissist, it won't change much because it wasn't fundamentally codependent to begin with. So when you are fully committed to owning your own pain and you start to work on it, you can know that you're making negative dynamics in any somewhat normal bad relationship, you're going to make it better. It doesn't work with a narcissist, though. First step, commit to your own healing. You commit to your own healing, you're going to force the issue. You're going to force a distinction, maybe even just in your own mind. And you have to be open to the fact that maybe you haven't fully understood what's wrong between you and another person. You will find out as you start to heal. Now, first of all, if you start to heal and empower yourself, you're going to be stronger and you're going to be more well. So the advantage of putting this as the first step is that no matter what is going on in your reality and your life and your consciousness, it's good for you to commit to being a better person, taking care of yourself, developing a spiritual practice, and getting the healing support you need. You can sign up with me for sessions. Please visit wildflowerfire.com, linked in the description for more information. Now, the insidious side of these patterns is that to a narcissist, if you empower yourself, you're breaking the deal. You're breaking the system. Because if you get too beautiful, it becomes almost impossible for them to know themselves as the most beautiful force in their reality. Your power and explicitly your beautiful power, if you succeed at work, if you become much healthier than you used to be, losing 20 pounds, if you start to insist on eating a new diet that they don't like, they will have a violent reaction. Now, look, if somebody gets unsettled, even angry, even unacceptably angry, that's what assholes do. Yes, they're not well, their reality's been forced to change by you healing. You might have to hold some space for that. But if they insist on controlling it and they want to break your empowerment, that's what narcissists do. Narcissists can't make the change. Narcissists can't handle the transformations of people around them, and they will react violently and in a controlling fashion to prevent you from getting stronger. So unfortunately, you might not want to know if someone you're near is a narcissist, but this is the way to find out. So, last step. Not only do you need to be well by developing a spiritual practice, building a yoga, getting out on more walks, becoming healthier, and getting healing support from a counselor, spiritual healer, but you also need to develop community. You need more help. Narcissists will typically undermine your ability to make friends. So if you're honest with yourself, this is going to be illuminated by how they react to you reaching out and becoming empowered with new people. When you make new friends, you have to think in terms of who can handle you as you are and who will love you and want healing for you and your partner. Someone who rushes to take your side in a fight, not necessarily a good friend. Because in codependent dynamics where two people are being assholes, it does not make it better to simply recruit people to be on your side. But friendships that can honestly hold space for you when you are being abused, next level. A narcissist won't want that. What you need to appreciate is you deserve the kind of love that can see you in your pain. You deserve the kind of love that can help empower you into taking better care of yourself, that can hold you accountable to learning to develop a yoga practice where you build strength within yourself and you learn to transform negative dynamics in your mind and in your body into increasing and deep spiritual and physical and mental well-being. People who can help you do this exist. They want to be your friend because you could be that kind of friend to them. These are the things you want regardless of what the dynamics in your personal relationships are. They will expose whether or not your personal relationships simply need more help, more empowerment to heal, or whether you're in such a deep and abusive situation that you need help from other people, a path out. So to map a path out can take time. I don't want to rush you. Be aware. Taking the steps day after day to develop a spiritual practice is the same kind of work that develops the strength to change your life in the big picture, in the big ways of moving, changing jobs, changing homes, getting new relationships. So you can set some of these big questions aside, put it all into developing health now in the ways you can, and over time, you will reveal the truth of whether you are living with narcissists or just someone who's an asshole. Much love be with you and your family.